Podcasting from Woodstock, Georgia, welcome to Soul Solutions, a show where we overcome our fears and our limiting beliefs. I'm your host, author, and certified life coach, Terry Kozlowski. Episode 37. Why responding lovingly to others in all situations isn't difficult. When another is criticizing us, how do we react? Most of us automatically get defensive because we allow our egoic minds to take over our actions. Others of us may stay quiet and take it because we feel we deserve the adverse treatment. Do we even consider how we should respond versus reacting so we have an outcome we prefer? I believe there is a difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is an immediate and most often automatic reply to a situation, an impulse. Reacting is an instinctive, but also in resistance to the circumstances. We base most reactions on our emotional state. Usually when we react, it comes from fear, and we have no filters in our processing of the conditions. In contrast, a response is a thought-out answer where options are considered. We are purposeful in how we reply to the conditions and are using emotional intelligence in our solutions. When we respond, we can consciously reply from a place of love and make the situation better. When we pause before we reply to the circumstances, we allow our souls to whisper to us the best way to respond. Only when we respond from a place of love can we be inclusive, make authentic connections, and allow peace to come into the outcomes. Reacting causes negativity to develop. When we have an emotional reaction, our ego wants to blame, shame, and judge others. It's looking for a way to deflect unpleasant feelings the interaction is causing to rise from our minds. We all do it. He made me feel, but our hurt feelings aren't their fault. We reacted based on our past sensitivities to certain situations. Our childhood domestication process preconditioned us to react a certain way. We all have unique triggers that cause us to go into autopilot mode. For example, I feared Hispanic men because 3 men molested me when I was a child. This reaction would be understandable when I was a teenager. As an adult, I have worked with many lovely Hispanic men and learned that there is nothing about them for me to fear. Now I can see a Hispanic man and tell my ego there's nothing to be afraid of, and I can respond from a place of love and not react fearfully. We need to be aware of those things that produce in us a fearful reaction. What are our hot buttons? To respond appropriately, we need to understand why we react to those things that trigger us. We are responsible for how we reply to others because they aren't the reason we are sensitive. We need to be self-aware and understand the part we play in the circumstances. Ways to diminish our reaction. When we have been reacting to the same stimuli for decades, it's hard to break the habitual behavior. But when we have reacted poorly to a situation, there are ways we can reduce the conflict. Learn to walk away from an upsetting circumstance. Instead of yelling at someone or escalating the argument, take a walk. Let the other person know we need time to evaluate the issue and we will come back later to discuss the matter. This time allows us to cool off, assess the situation, and evaluate options. If our reaction is to hide away instead of facing the issue, learn to talk it out with someone trusted. Let another know how we feel and ask for ways to help us feel better or create an improved situation. Reframe the stories we tell ourselves by improving our self-talk. Don't allow the inner critic to spiral us downward into negativity. Instead, remind ourselves that just because we find ourselves in circumstances we don't like doesn't mean we can't learn something positive from the situation. after a controversy, take time to reflect on how we handled the conditions. We can journal ways we could have conducted ourselves differently to create a better outcome. Or we can celebrate those times in which our response was precisely what it needed to resolve the dispute. How to transform reactions into responses. The most important thing we can do to alter how we reply to a set of circumstances is to take a deep breath. This pause allows us to determine how we feel, assess the situation, and evaluate our options. When we give ourselves this moment to reflect, we can consciously choose how to move forward to a solution. As we are determining our emotional state, we need to ask ourselves why we feel this way. Are we angry, or are we becoming distrustful and ready to defend our position? Maybe we are feeling hurt and we are shutting down so we don't feel bad about ourselves. Whatever we're feeling, we need to understand why, so similar situations don't cause us to react poorly. Assessing the situation means we are trying to understand how we got to this place. What caused the circumstances? What role did we play to get here? Could we have done something different to have another outcome, or was this position inevitable? We also need to evaluate how others are feeling and how they are acting. We need as much information so we can complete the next step, which is evaluating our options. This refers to looking at the many paths we can take to come to the best resolution for all involved. What is the goal, and how can we get there? When we consciously gauge both good and bad possibilities, we can choose wisely and move forward towards the best resolution. Interpersonal skills helps us respond better. When we are dealing with others, we need to be empathetic. For us to have empathy for another actually requires us to respond to them instead of reacting. Why? Because when we try to understand another's perspective, we choose to see the other from a loving place. When we realize others aren't responsible for how we feel, we recognize that we aren't accountable for how they feel or how they react. When we can empathize and help them through their emotions, we can let go of thinking we caused anything. Their feelings are their own. Proper responses requires us to have excellent communication skills and the willingness to cooperate or collaborate to come to a resolution for all of us to move forward. Active listening is the most crucial skill to show others we want to understand their point of view. This paying attention means we are hearing what they say with the goal of understanding. We're maintaining eye contact, asking clarifying questions, and not interrupting. Responding with compassion. When we are mindful, our compassionate nature comes out, and we naturally respond with love. Look at small children when one of them gets hurt. They automatically reply with love and care. They are taking action to make their injured friend feel better. This loving action is how we are all to respond to one another. But over time, our egoic mind takes over. Only the ego sees a world of separation. The soul sees we are all connected, and therefore what is best for someone else is also best for us. Who is war good for? No one, of course. But the ego doesn't allow peace to be an option because it needs to win. To stop the egoic reaction from continually harming us, we need to pause. When we pause before we respond, we allow ourselves to disconnect from the egoic mind, and we permit our natural compassion to rise from our souls so that we can respond from a loving place. Again, most of what the ego reacts to isn't life-threatening and therefore can be dismissed. Our hurt feelings typically aren't about the present circumstances, so we need to release them and focus on the current condition to move forward to a resolution. This empowerment of controlling how we respond allows us to live more authentic and loving life with those we have connections with, moving forward with a loving response. When we realize our reactions harm everyone, including ourselves, we can choose a better way. As we mindfully work on how we respond to situations, we'll soon find it easier to manage our lives' circumstances. Although we may still react sometimes, we'll be able to separate ourselves from our emotions and diminish their adverse effects. Our goal is to decrease our reactive times and realign when we react poorly. The more we are non-reactive, the better our responses and the better our lives become. Our understanding will improve our relationships and better equipped to handle the hurdles life throws at us. As we become more conscious of our replies, we can learn to respond from a place of love and not react fearfully. Do you need support to help you respond better? Do you want a strategy to help you overcome the ego's limiting beliefs and live a successful life? If so, please reach out to me at terrykozlowski.com, where we can put together an action plan for you to create the life you desire. Please check out my book, Raven Transcending Fear, now available on Amazon. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to raventranscendingfear.com. Thanks for listening to Soul Solutions with Terry Kozlowski. If you'd like the show and want to learn more, check out terrykozlowski.com, where you can find the links to everything we talked about in this episode. Please subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode as we overcome our fears and our limiting beliefs.